show up? Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing, live show number 188, where you can get your own Dunkin' Donut toasted coconut cream donut from Robert Cole. All you have to do is show up on his doorstep. No, it's not. It's not. What is it?
I
now?
brought enough for everyone, but I'm sorry I got hungry and ate them all. So.
That's all right. According to Ed, our audience, you'd probably still have enough donuts left over.
That's right. Exactly.
We're probably pretty good for that. I just realized that I still have my audio on the other one wrong, so let me change my audio on my other computer real quick.
You know, most other video casts don't actually show you the engineer working on the actual podcast while it's being filmed. But Lauren is a multitasker.
It's a multitasker plus moniker.
I'll do the opening for you. It's fine.
Would you please? Would you please, sir? Robert, please take it away.
Wait, I'll read. Oh, here, the cue cards. Welcome to Cartel Today, the latest of what's going on in drug and arms. No.
That's the other show.
That's your other show. That's the other show.
That's the closed door show. Okay.
Now we know how Lauren funds these things. That's right.
This is an expensive show. Somebody's got to make some money. Daddy's got to make some money somewhere.
Exactly. And that is, as I've said before, that is a niche, underserved market in the hospitality industry.
I took your advice. It's proved to be profitable. Yes.
And loyal guests, they work with you over and over, continuously. Once you earn their trust, boy, are they loyal.
They love you. They're just like hooked on it or something.
Exactly.
I use it to be fair, I actually use it. I do call one of my market strategies the drug dealer strategy because you do go in with the idea that you propagate a relationship based on a value proposition. And then as that slowly works forward, then you begin to go over and monetize that.
So crack to school kids. You're teaching hoteliers to take a crack to head down to the playground.
I just said that there is a market modality that is learnable, and the sense of creating a value proposition and then monetizing it.
And an unwilling users of your product who feel compelled.
We can call it the opium addiction.
Unwilling compulsion. Okay.
Hey. One thing I do love is that a couple of stories I want to make sure that we hit today that I thought were outstanding. One is your top story. Yeah, I always wanted to do the Saturday Night Live top story tonight. Top story. Max is back in chit-chatting. I love when he writes up stuff now that he has time to do it. Your top story, hospitality, digital technology, challenges, priorities, and buzzwords.
Buzzwords, yes.
Which is, I want to dive into that a little bit. That's the top story, which I really thought was really cool. Yep. I'm jumping brands and product, although I don't need to. I just want to jump down because one of the things that I think
you don't want to talk about the new Sheraton logo? Come on.
Yeah, the little fuzzy little lines pointing at each other. No, that's okay.
No. We need to talk about the
Sheraton. We will.
That was almost the rut row. But
yeah, that was almost the rut row. It should have been almost the rut row, right? Yeah. Now, the one I do want to make sure we catch on is Google quietly releases its hotel booking destination with potential huge implications. Yes. That one has been something we've been talking about for a while, and all of a sudden they just slide it in.
We had it, because we had it there for about a month early. They kind of, and I don't know. Yeah, they do so much multivariate testing that I'm not sure if it was just me who had it or it was widely spread.
No. Cody popped up on their blog for a little bit. It got popped up. Somebody else threw it up there. I would like to say it would be Skift, but it's not because this is Skift. But
Focus
it's somebody
Wire.
else.
Probably Focus Wire.
Maybe Focus Wire, yeah. It's sad to say, Hotel News now should have picked it up. What's the one that's dead, almost dead?
T-News?
Yeah.
No. T-News was acquired by Focusrite, and it's now been rolled into Focus Wire. So Linda Fox, who was really kind of one of the only ones left there. Although Nick Vivian, who used to be there, because all of these things, quite honestly, were started pretty much by Kevin May, who did T-News. And then Skift, when Rafat started up Skift, he grabbed Dennis Shaw, who was kind of Kevin's, partner who had started up T-News and brought him over to Skift. And then the other people, Sean O'Neill is now with Skift. He was a good guy with that. And then there's a guy, Nick Vivian, too, who left, and he's actually a restaurateur in New Orleans and things like that. But he does some really good stuff too. He's doing it independently. So anyway, these people move around. There's a guy, Luke Bujarski, who used to be at Focusrite, who didn't didn't really do the focus wire thing, but he did research, and he's doing some good stuff with a Luft. So yeah, there's lots of interesting things.
I do want to point out in your list that you provided out to HSMAI's marketing board.
Yes,
you pointed out wonderfully 14 things, including the rot row. But I'm beginning to notice a little fudging here because you have the rot row also listed under marketing and strategy.
Oh, I did.
I'm attributing that to late night blur.
Oh,
I'm attributing that to late night blur because you are so cutting edge that you want only the latest information.
You're right. No, because I knew that Holly was coming up with a better rut row. And
better rut row than what we had? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I do also want to touch on the Airbnb just only because I hope Stuart shows up so we can irritate him that we're bringing up Airbnb for the third show in a week, or third week in a row.
Yeah. That's a big deal in LA, though.
It is a big deal in LA. Okay.
But and I also called that 4 years ago. So.
Yeah. And then the other is marketing and strategy, AI editorial for dynamic pricing to work. What sort of leap is needed? I want to
that was airline. That was airline related, but still, I thought it was very, very pertinent since the hotel industry tends to blindly follow the airline industry.
Right, and it's indicative of the same challenges that we would be having.
Absolutely.
We will go that same route. As you said, we follow the airlines pretty. Not religiously, but what is it when you're in part of the Jerry Jones cult?
Well, you were talking about that addicted compulsion thing.
Yeah, look, they're doing it. We got to do it too. Yeah. A little bit like CVBs do to each other. Okay, so lead story: Max Sarkoff. Okay, love the fact that Max now has time on his hands because he has always been a brilliant thought leader when it comes to. I put him in the same equation with Tim Peter. With Tim not here this week, he politely bowed out at the last minute, saying he wouldn't be able to make it this week, so I can't give him this accolade to him. But I put Max Sarkoff and Tim Peter in the same realm of clarity, the ability to look at this wrangled knot of a mess of things and cut to the quick of some of the stuff. That said, I don't always agree with the decisions or the clarity that they come up with. And I have some terminologies that I had questions about.
Wait a second. You do not always agree with Tim Peter?
No.
The source of all knowledge? Really?
I know, right? The source of all, the fountainhead of all good knowledge. Yes. Wow, I believe that sometimes there's a little taint to the well.
I've never heard anyone ever say that about Tim ever before.
Okay, let's put it this way. Does Tammy always agree with Ted?
Does what?
Does Tammy always agree with Ted? Or with Tim?
With Ted? Who's Ted?
No, Tim. Oh yeah. Well,
now let's not get into Tammy and Ted and Tim, and that's their personal life. I don't know. I don't know what's.
I don't think Tammy agrees with Tim all the time. So Tim can be wrong. He can be wrong. Hey, Mr. Stuart Butler.
Hey guys, how are you?
Oh, good. We're just dogging on Tim a little bit.
Nothing new.
Wait. Stuart, have you ever known Tim to be wrong or ever disagree with something Tim has said? I don't think so. I can't. No, I can't recall. Lauren is he's denigrating the good name of Tim Peter.
I made a point saying I don't believe Tammy agrees with Tim all the time, so Tim can be wrong.
Well, I'm sure if Tammy says something, Tim says yes. If she disagrees,
he's smart. He knows where his bread is buttered.
Yes, he knows when to say yes. Actually, and you'll be very happy that Stuart. One of the stories we're going to bring in is Airbnb this week.
All right, see you guys. I gotta go.
They were whacked. Yeah. They were whacked down.
They were. This is a good one. This is the story, the kind of story we should be talking about.
The top story with Max Sarkoff is one we did as a lead, where I was just complimenting the fact. Actually, this all came from the fact that I put Max and Tim in the category of being able to look at a very mangled knot of things and be able to cut to the quick and the core of it. That said, I don't always agree with the final perspective that they come up with, and in this case with this article that Max put out, highly relevant, great targeting, great segmentation, great identification of things. I get a little fuzzy on some of the terminology he's using, so I was actually having legitimate questions as to what do you think he meant by saying this.
Okay, well let's go.
Do you have specifics about where you were concerned?
Yes. If you go into the digital marketing technology component of his article. Oh, by the way, let me throw the link up. I'm sorry. Let me do this real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was basically talking about a variety of. Actually, it's quite a long think piece.
Yes.
But
it is. It was almost like a brain dump. I think that
exactly.
I think overall it was good, but it was definitely. I think he was conflating a lot of things together that don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was a lot of commonsensical stuff in there as well, which I'm like, do we need to? I don't know. I felt like he was writing to write at some points, but yeah, let's get into the specifics.
Sure. Okay. So the way he approaches this is that there's two major segmentations of how we're approaching technology with our guests. He breaks them into the following two categories: guest engagement, acquisition, and retention technology.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other is guest services technology. I'm with him at this point.
I'm not. I disagree with that.
Okay,
because I think there's a lot of overlap between those two.
Yes.
I don't think you should delineate between the two because in my opinion, when someone comes to your website and you're trying to wine and dine them, you should treat them like your guest at that point.
Right.
And certainly once they've booked, they are your guest, even though they haven't set foot on property, and you should treat them with the same kind of thoughtfulness that you do when they're on property. So I personally
I would argue that they are your guest when they are on your website. They have taken their time out to somehow find your website, and you should treat them in a hospitable manner.
But I'm going to hang on one word that he says: technology. I think what you're talking about is process. I agree with everything what you just said. I completely agree with.
Okay, so look at our mobile app product, right? So Guest Express mobile app product. It does both sides of that. It does the guest acquisition. It does the guest engagement prior to the booking, but it also
is that the world famous Fuel Travel platform?
The Fuel Travel Get mobile app that now has Apple integration for keyless entry. Yeah, shameless plug. But my point being, it's a tool that goes across both those things. I don't personally separate the two.
And I would argue on the as you mentioned, Lauren, the process versus the technology. The technology should hypothetically disappear. Right. You don't want you really don't want people to notice technology. It should just kind of happen and go, this is great.
It should remove friction. It should make things convenient. Right. But so another example of that where I think there's overlap is on CRM. Right. So the information, the data that you're gathering from a marketing perspective and how they find you and behavior on the website, and then the data you're collecting when they're on property, what they're purchasing, how they interact with the front desk, how they check in, what their preferences are in terms of stay. All that data should be in one place. It shouldn't be, you shouldn't be thinking about those as two isolated buckets, and you should be leveraging that data in both of those spheres as well. So I fundamentally disagree with separating those two.
Well, yeah, because all the learnings you have from the guest experience and go, oh, this is what they're like. These are all these things. Well, the next time they come to the website, if you have that, you can go, hey, here, you know what? They hit the reserve list in the restaurant or something. You might want some wine oriented. Now, again, vast majority of hotels do not do that, right? Or even close to it, going, hey, this is a foodie, or this is a, they show up on your website and all of a sudden you have, culinary oriented imagery, which is great. And then go, wow, this is, that's the true personalization that you really want.
And I think we're pushing towards that, right? Again, I don't think a lot of people are, but I think you fundamentally do yourself a disservice if you don't think through it that way and think of the consumer as a person. In every piece of technology that interacts with that person should be part of an overall strategy, not an acquisition strategy and an on-property strategy. It should be just a strategy.
See, now I read this differently in the sense that I thought that he was stating how things are being done. Because I'm not disagreeing with you, Stuart, in any capacity. There has to be the melding of them.
Oh, you're saying that
this
is how they're doing it now. Okay.
I thought he was identifying. And if I might be wrong, because I'm trying to read, as you guys are talking, I'm reading, it's like, is he saying this is the way it should be, or is this what he says?
I don't know.
Okay, one thing that I can't go into some details on this, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
But these are
no
various,
one watches the show. It's fine. You can.
These are various aspects.
That's what he said. You got plenty of donuts for everybody.
Let's just say that once upon a time, I had a consulting client that was out acquiring companies, and that we looked at various aspects of the tech stack because they were interested in investing in hospitality technology and companies like that. And so it was the analysis was broken down as, CRS, or, online distribution, revenue management, CRM, reputation management, digital marketing. These are very similar categories, the ones that I broke down. So these are kind of pillars of the marketing tech stack, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably because, Stuart, everything you said is absolutely amen, hallelujah. Let me put some choir robes on, because I agree with you that as soon as they make contact with us, we should be treating them as a relationship building environment, period, regardless of what level of engagement they're at. Completely agree with you. I was reading this as, I agree with his assessment. This is how the industry is looking at this right now.
Yeah. Well, this is from the toolbox. Yeah, this is from a toolbox perspective, I think, right?
Yeah.
You can go by this or this. Now, my assessment is that all this stuff is going to merge together and be a variety of services based on some sort of, Citizen M, Michael Levy will say, enterprise service bus or whatever, but it's like, here's your data and your kind of technology stream, right, that you can give that, and then how do you bolt stuff onto that, right? So you go, hey, we need something to do something on a mobile device. That's great. We have this. Hey, we need to figure out what our pricing is and what's going on competitively. Yeah, we got something else that bolts over here. But
see, because what one thing is, and I didn't ever refer to this, and has it been referred to this, and I just didn't know this, ORM, online reputation management, has it been referred to that?
Yes.
See, that's a new term for me. I really didn't know that.
Lauren, it's relative. It's only 5-6 years.
I'm catching up.
Yeah.
So this internet,
it's new.
Is the internet thingy what you're talking about?
Okay. No, Lauren, the call center, 800 numbers. You can use it, and there are additional numbers. It doesn't just have to be 800. You can do some other ones.
You can send postcards to people. There's all kinds of.
Who gets the faxes then? Who gets the faxes?
I heard the post office was I think, did they raise first class postage stamp prices?
No. That's a budget. My whole budget's in
one aside, Stuart is too young to remember all this. We used to do direct mail type thing. Literally, you had to put stuff together, like an email, right? You put but you had to go out and get this stuff like printed and delivered.
Yeah,
and
we still do it for some of our clients. It can still be effective.
Assembled and mailed and all of that sort of stuff. It was not fun. And then when you go out and you're all set and you go, hey, there's a typo on there.
Yeah. That's a pleasant feeling. Feeling. Yeah.
Damn. Okay, so they looked at that's March, not February. Damn it.
Some of the terms I had, other than the newfound usage of the word ORM,
I can't believe you've never heard that before. That's crazy to me.
If it is, I never used it. I just never used it. I was just called reputation management, because people would always ask me to segment out social, and it's like, do you include reputation management in that? And that's how I always referred to it, as just reputation management. Okay, so under the digital marketing technology, which is under the segment of guest services technology, or acquisition. I'm sorry, acquisition.
Yes.
Okay, it refers to some things I don't really know what he's referring to.
Okay.
Okay, so demand side platforms, audience segmentation applications. What is audience segmentation applications?
I read it as a component of either your CRM or your marketing tech stack, your MarTech stuff.
So, it might be something how you break down personas or something like that. I'm not sure.
I don't.
Either personas or maybe demographic breakdown.
Right. Like I said.
You type in the epsilon or something like that.
And when he was listing out all these things, I think he was just putting a lot of fancy words together to sound smart. But
well, that's the first dynamic, great marketing applications to engage covert investors who express that's like wordy. Programmatic and native display advertising. Okay, thank you, Captain Obvious. But you're right. There is just how he broke out these bullet points. I was just. That one kind of caught my eye of like audience segmentation applications.
Yeah.
What is that? Is that like you said, Robert? Is that personas based on channel of distribution? Is that personas based on channel of acquisition?
I'm not sure. I think it's somehow segmenting your target.
Yeah.
I think in terms of, if he's saying audience, it's probably prospective customers or targeted customers or something like that.
Right.
I do like his bullet points towards the end about the, you know, I know, Stuart, you're a huge fan of AMP. Everything should be AMP in your mind. I know that. I mean, you have a T-shirt that says "I'm AMP today, aren't you?" I never get a T-shirt like that.
If only you could not have a website, have it only on Facebook and only AMP.
Yeah. I'd pick AMP over Facebook. I'll be honest.
I have a feeling that my statement like that is not going to die easily.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It'll linger for a while.
Anyway, AMP.
Interesting points. He made some interesting points. I do love his soft reference to retail technology.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we underrate retail's advances towards what we can, in comparison to us.
Yeah.
Oh man. Retail.
Having worked a lot in the retail space, I mean, we were part of the rise of Southern Tide and some big retail brands, and the technology stack there is light years ahead. I mean, it's less complicated, to be fair. It's a lot less complex. You're dealing with a lot fewer moving parts, but in some of the sophisticated things they're doing. But they also have the advantage of getting more customer data, because if you're selling, you know, polo shirts at Southern Tide, that average consumer is coming back multiple times a year. It's not like, you know, a lot of hotels where you get them once, maybe once a year. You know, it's apples to oranges, but their tech stack is a lot more sophisticated. That's why, you know, we are looking heavily at what is happening on the online retail side to bring it into hospitality. So if you look at our CRM and things like that, we're bringing a lot of the AI components that CRM is implemented in CRM in retail into the hospitality industry, and it's a challenge because the data set is very different. The inventory is very different, but I think we'll get there.
Fuel, top secret. Fuel's working on something like the Sephora makeup thing, where you can try and virtual. Yeah, it comes in and you can look at. Oh, here's how I look in the deluxe ocean view suite. Hey, that's pretty good.
That's exactly right. Put your head in the bed, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That looks very. Oh, room service, excellent. Yeah, I'll stay there.
That's funny. But I did think you touched on something. A lot of the article, to me, I kind of went through an emotional swing as I was going through it, because I was reading it and it was like, this is Captain Obvious. Like everything he's saying is just like it is. Shouldn't we all know this? But then I'm like, well, there's a lot of folks that don't really consider all this stuff. So I feel like it did a good job of really laying out a very complex ecosystem in a very succinct. Well, it wasn't that succinct, but a very simplistic manner. So
I do have to echo what you say with that, because right now I seem to be on the speaking circuit thing, which I love. Do not get me wrong, I love this. So Las Vegas next week. I'm going to be over in Colorado Springs. The week after, I'm going to be in Nashville, but I won't be speaking there. And then Memphis after that. And you walk in the room thinking that you're starting at a base level of understanding.
Yeah, this big levels of knowledge. Yeah,
you're starting at a rooftop. Yeah, you're starting at a rooftop, and you need to get down to the basement. You have to literally go back and say, "This is how we see our guests."
This is a website.
This is a website. This is what they've. And it's a shame because the pressures on these people that are in the room. They're there because they want to understand it better, because they know it's in their world. They just they don't have a stick in the sand to start it from. They don't have a reference point, and things have advanced so far. They don't know where even the beginning of the string is to know where to go back far enough to know where they need to start from. And I think more critically than ever, rather than and this goes to HSMI, this goes to HOA, this goes to HLA, all these guys, they're trying to advance the forward edge of training and understanding, which is they should. But there's a lot of left behind that needs to get caught up into some basic baseline of usabilities.
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing in a situation where I know of this expert speaker who's speaking in Las Vegas next week. He's speaking in Nashville, and he doesn't even know what ORM is. I mean, that's crazy, this world that we're living in.
I mean, a term that's been around for 5 years, for God's sake.
I know, yeah.
What the hell is up with that?
Actually, I know an individual, this is serious, this is a sad statement, who speaks all over the world, actually, on blockchain, in, things like that, and he confessed.
Right there, you can stop. That's sad. Right there.
No, and he confessed to me that really what he had done is he had read a couple articles and spent a couple weeks kind of up there, and that was it. Yeah. And then he's getting people to pay a bunch of money to go talk to the advising, and you just kind of go, wow. And it's not that he's a bad guy. He found kind of a niche, right? And you kind of go,
A lot of people in the speaking circuit, that's what they are. You can become an expert. You can know more about a subject than 99% of people by literally spending a week or two researching the topic. Anytime.
Listening to great podcasts like Fuel Travel every Friday at 2 p.m.
We don't know jack about hotel marketing, and yet we position ourselves as experts. It's amazing.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, I listen to a lot of podcasts, but religiously yours and Tim's, obviously. But there's a lot of podcasts I'm listening to. I'm sitting there going, this is just cotton candy BS.
And when he says religiously, he's there and he's got it's a little weird with the shrine. The steward in Tim's shrine is a little.
It used to be a dartboard, but since, Stewart's Australia.
Melissa said she's had a bit of a stalker problem recently. She didn't say who it was, but I'm beginning to wonder.
All right. Hey, the other article I want to make sure that we hit is Google. The quietly assumptive, let's just drop a A-bomb in the middle of the freaking room.
That's quietly, really. Yeah.
Well, so go ahead.
Was anybody surprised?
It's
like the least surprising thing ever. And we did talk about it a few weeks ago. I mean, Google is out there, and it's like everything that they do, right? They somewhat hide behind this is what the consumer wants, right? They want the most, limited numbers of clicks. They want the, information fast. They want it accurate. And just how can you do this? And their job has been to organize the world's information, right? So the challenge winds up being and again, when Google started, they were just a search engine, right? They were trying to organize the information. Then they acquired at what became AdWords, right? Mm-hmm. And that all of a sudden was their monetization model, which worked very, very well, right? They found a way to make money on all this data. And now it's the conflict between, well, do we lead people to other resources around the world, or can we make it really simple for them and just sell it out of our little portfolio here? And we can get rid of the middleman in here, because the middleman does create friction. I mean, if you talk to the TripAdvisor or Skyscanner or Kayak people in metasearch, the poor quality of, say, hotel mobile websites drives them crazy, because they spend a bunch of money on customer acquisition and engaging, and they go, okay, they found a hotel, we got it. They're gonna, oh damn. So it's not a great thing. So Google can streamline a lot of that stuff, but yeah.
So you are the mobile expertise, because you literally build in the space. I mean, you have an app and everything else like this.
Yep.
This fluidity of single discovery, single engagement, single conclusion, conversion. How, from a strategic point of view, can you work around that? I mean, is that just a wall that is too tall?
I don't need to. It's not at that point yet. You know what? The way I see it is this: in the short term, at least the next 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, is not going to be a major problem for anyone, really. I mean, the OTAs will probably get squeezed for sure, which was inevitable, right? We weren't going to sustain this duopoly forever. So
with high margins, right? With high margins,
the margins they have, right? Right.
High margins in a business are a magnet to competition, and sometimes you can defend it. Apple has defended it quite well.
Very well, but
Amazon has high. Amazon has high margins. Low bottom line, but there's a lot of margin in what they do up front. But
So I think what the economy we've lived in is not sustainable long term, nor was it really healthy for the industry. And it'll be interesting to see what happens if we do hit a downturn that a lot of folks are predicting. But for me as a hotelier, I look at it a couple of ways. Like we actively participate on Google Hotel Ads. We both on the meta search type where it clicks through to the website and the booking on Google. The volume is not there. It is increasing, but there's not a lot of volume on the book direct on Google yet, because it's a new marketplace that people are beginning to figure out. And just like flights, it will take a little while before it really, pun intended, takes off. But to me, I see this as it's not going to switch off Expedia and Booking.com overnight. It's going to take time. And I literally mean it's going to take years, by which time we'll probably have to worry about Amazon anyway. So to me, this is an extra distribution channel for me as a hotelier or a hotel marketer that I'm going to embrace. Now, Ed, it would be here saying, well, careful what you wish for because you're basically building up Google. Well, no, Google already has 90% of the market share of search, right? So I'm not really helping them any more than they are, other than driving them more revenue. But it's not like it's going to cost me more. It's just shifting where I'm spending it from 2 people to 3 people. And that's a good thing for me as a hotelier. I'm less reliant on these 2 channels. So I think it's okay in the short term. If I was Expedia, I'd probably be nervous. If I was Booking.com, I would probably be nervous. But what the hell can they do about it? Nothing.
Well, and maybe
it's not
the
like
brand,
they're going to pull off
and
of
some
Google.
of the brands, this can help the brands in some cases.
I don't care about the brands. I work with independent hotels.
I know. This is it's an interesting one for the brands though, because I think the brands will be tempted to go, let's do this to get them out of Expedia and Booking.com, but then. Yeah, are you replacing it with something that maybe
you're just shifting, right? I mean, and ultimately, it's going to come down to what's the piece that Google's going to take versus the OTAs. I mean, to be candid, the OTAs have they've stolen money from hotels for years, 20% plus in some cases, which is ludicrous.
It's not it's not really stealing, because if you don't want to work with them,
you don't have to. But a lot of people feel like they needed to, right?
Extortion. I agree with extortion. I agree with extortion, not theft.
Right. Okay. So I retract my theft implications.
To clear some of the clutter away, and I always try to look at history in some ways. And fortunately, I live in an area that has the Edison House and so forth. And Thomas Edison used to be gold. Anything he put his name on was an immediately recognized an authority brand. That's what people wanted to buy, whether it was anything he built or whether he just had a hand in it and offered his name to it. You had the Rockefeller,
kind of like Trump, right?
Yeah, no. You had the Rockefellers.
I'm going to hold my tongue.
You had the Rockefellers, you had the Fords, you had the Firestones. These people dominated anything and everything that they were engaged with, and it looked like insurmountable that anybody could ever compete with anything that they were doing, from a small to a it's David and Goliath mentality. And here now we have 40 flavors of cars. We have 20,000 flavors.
Whoa. Yeah, but a lot of them were broken up when you're talking about the Rockefeller Standard Oil and things like that.
No, and that's what I'm saying.
They have to intervene. They have to intervene.
Getting somewhere with this in the sense, what will be the demise of the Googles and the Amazons is a perpetual lack of confidence or trust that eventually will develop about their monopolies of control of their information and interests. That eventually, potentially, their diminishment will be because they need to be rebalanced or fragmented or what have you with this. And I think the brands see the long play in this, and I will give Hilton and Marriott credit, even though the stupid name of Bonvoy, is they know that at the end of a long curve is going to be the relationship that they have with their guests. The more that they can tie the experience-driven relationship with their guests, starting now while they still have more active availability to data and engagement, okay, through this process. Because the OTAs, to your point, I believe, will diminish their percentages as they get more and more competition against them. And they're eventually going to turn into a travel agent relationship at best, maybe even less than that, where they're getting marginal margins off, because what they literally offer is nothing other than relationship value proposition. Can I bundle things? Can I get better value proposition? Is a reward system. And the more the brands can do that, and the less that Googles and Amazons can dominate the stand in front of you mentality, that's a great thing. What I'm really interested in, I'm bringing to this to a point to a question, is Stuart and Robert, from the sense of independent hotels, how can independent hotels ride that wave without figuring they got to give up and put a flag in front? Or how do they have to ride that wave to figure out that they have a smaller database to work with? How can they start now working on that long-term relationship value so that they continue to keep business directly piped to them rather than having to go through everybody else and their brother?
I think they have to do both. If you're an independent hotel, unless you're very, very well established and have a tremendous reputation, and you've done a great job for a number of years, where people are constantly, booking you, and still you're going to have, valley periods and shoulders and things like that. I think if you're an independent, you have to play in all of these channels, because those OTAs, for people who don't know about you, it's a very cost-effective method and low-risk method to have people be aware. I mean, if you're an independent hotel in Charleston, South Carolina, and some people are coming over from Lyon, I don't know, there's very little chance they've ever heard of you, but they may be able to find you through an OTA. And again, in that scenario, they might not ever stay with you again. It may be a one-shot deal, because they're the kind of guest that goes to Charleston and goes, that's it. Or maybe they love it and they want to go back every year? I don't know, and you don't know unless you're exposed to them, right? And then you can start nurturing that relationship.
Yeah. It's always going to come back to the experience, right? And so for independent hotels, you do have an acquisition challenge, right? You don't have the machine that is the flag to drive new people to the property and get found. So you have to figure out how to do that. Most people rely on OTAs and Google, and in terms of paid ads and GHA and TripAdvisor, in the terms of Trip Connect and instant booking and a splash of things here and there. The better that mix is, and the more diversified that mix is in an effective way, the healthier you are, right? The less reliant you are on a single or two individuals, the better. So people that are 60, 70, 80% plus reliant on OTAs, this could be a major problem. So you've really got to start diversifying your outreach. A lot of our clients are sub 10. Most are sub 20, a lot of sub 10% reliant on OTAs, right? Which is so this isn't really that big a deal to them because they've got this marketing mix that works. But I think the key is always going to be, regardless of what the acquisition ecosystem looks like, the key is always going to be positive sentiment, positive word of mouth, positive online reputation.
Is there an acronym for that?
I think so. ORM, I believe. So if you're an independent hotelier, I think one of the most important things you can do is read and take heed of the online reviews you get, right? Because you're going to get some crazies, but overall you're going to be able to get a finger on the pulse, and not just on the reviews, but talk to your guests too. Go and actually engage with your guests and understand what are the friction points, what are the frustration points, what are you doing well, what are you not doing well, and what could you do next time that would help improve the situation.
And if you can do that while they're a guest,
right,
and improve the situation, first prevent, just the job of trying and being a great hotelier means you have the experience of seeing things that can go wrong before, and you start looking at it and going, oh, next Wednesday we're turning the entire house. Right? Maybe we better add another desk clerk to the AM shift.
Right.
Sort of
thinking
thing.
through it like that, not thinking as
like
spreadsheets, thinking about it as the impact your decisions have on the guest. And when you have decisions to make the decision that favors the guest, even if it's at the expense of, staffing or cost. Always make the decision that favors the guest. Don't defer that maintenance. That's one thing that people tend to do when they start struggling is, we'll just not do this update for an extra year or whatever. The worst thing you can do, invest in your property, invest in your staff, and you'll get so much positive sentiment that this is less of an issue because word of mouth is still a real thing.
Well, and I would argue housekeeping, don't scrimp ever on housekeeping. Period. Right.
Yeah.
Number two, and on the repairs and maintenance, it's really the function of stuff. You don't want broken things, right? So you want it clean, you want it functional. Now, in terms of refreshing and things may start to get a little bit of worn. You can get away with that for a little while, right?
But once you start seeing an impact sentiment, right? Once you start seeing comments that, the carpets are a little bit worn, or it's kind of an old property. When you start seeing that, you've probably waited a little bit too long, and you need to get on top of it.
I've had this conversation with a client, and I made two strong points to them about their year of delay, and they were talking about this. And Stuart, this is applicable to some of the conversations we've had, even about some stuff. Is I said there's going to be two impact points that are associated with this. One is you're trying to maintain rate on a degraded product. Okay. So you're going to struggle in rate. You're going to struggle with your peer. Now, you try to maintain that rate. People are going to be historically remembering your hotel at a better quality. They're going to come in and be disappointed. You're now going to get bad sentiment from this. That sentiment builds over the year that they still have to deal with this because you're still going to try to keep fighting for your rate, even though your product is degraded. But you've developed now a negative sentiment to this. Now you do go under the knife. You go through renovations. One, pain processes of doing it, and you have that process of loss rate for those things as well. Okay. Then you come back out of it. And you say, ta-da-da, I'm all new and I'm fresh and I'm clean and I'm great. And everybody remembers you as the old dog hotel. Okay. That whole sentiment that you went through that whole year that you try to maintain rate, all those people you irritated by trying to keep the rate when the product wasn't maintained at that rate, those people are now against you. That data you're trying to use to reestablish relationship, because I'll tell you flat out, there was a hotel that's going into renovation that we just were stepping away from. But they went over and showed these brand new rooms, and every comment on the social push of saying, look at our beautiful new rooms that are coming was, This is dog. This is not real. This is not the hotel. This is it.
Yeah, I didn't get that room.
Backlash.
Right.
Y'all suck. This is a terrible place. This is bull. These images aren't real. Even if they're doing this, that's just lipstick.
Right.
I mean,
consistency. Consistency is a huge.
So
exactly.
For the little bit of monies you made trying to maintain rate on a poor product, you lost twice over because of the expense of re-innovating with the product and they're trying to go
alienating the bad sentiment, all that stuff.
Yeah, they try to go for the higher rate with the new product, and people are like, "Screw you!" I remember when I was there, it was a piece of junk. I don't think it's worth that rate when I paid.
The consistency, it's with everything though. It's when you hit a downturn, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Hey, get the rooms out on Hotwire, drop the rate, do whatever." Well, all of a sudden, all those individuals start saying, "Wait, I used to pay $225, but now I can get it for $125, $150, and groups will do that. They'll have high weekend rates and low weekday rates with these big swings, which are purely revenue management. Going, hey, we can optimize this, and there's a good point. You can add profit certainly by that, but it's got to make sense to the guest, and not just going, I pay triple on these dates. Why? They're ripping me, they're ripping me off, sort of thing. Now again, it compares how you compare the company.
Because if you go below the basement level, people's lack of perception gets. I mean, the point of perception gets changed.
And the worst part is, especially working through a lot of OTAs, you'll start doing these fire sales, and you start attracting guests which aren't your normal guest, right? And so all of a sudden you start getting, you have a nice refined luxury property, and all of a sudden you've got people screaming and dragging coolers through, and they don't get the hotel, right? They're just got, hey, I saw it was a 5-star hotel. It's at a 3-star price. Locations, let's go, right? And and again, you want to be welcoming to all guests and things like that. But all of a sudden, if you're trying to have, a certain atmosphere there and people are going nuts, that's maybe. And the question is why?
Come to my room with me. It's a comfort pony.
I have one point of issue of what you said. There's something wrong dragging a cooler out through the property.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, hell no.
No, here's where you can go the other direction also. I'll tell a quick Pierre. I love this Pierre Hotel story, right? The Pierre Hotel was a member of Four Seasons back in the mid 80s, right? Great hotel, 200 rooms, 61st and 5th Avenue in New York. One of the highest ADRs in the city at the time. Just absolutely fantastic property. They had a policy that there were no motor coaches. No guest would ever arrive by a motor coach. So there was an event on Wall Street. It was 50 Fortune 100 executives coming to a dinner in the ballroom, and they chartered a bus for these guys. Now these guys normally go by limo, but it was an event at the stock exchange. They put them on a bus. They're bringing them uptown. That was what they did back then. Now I don't know if they do it for security. They probably wouldn't do that. They made them go down to it wasn't even it had to be like the far side of Madison. So they made these guys walk like a block and a half to get to the hotel because they would not do it, and they didn't care. The meeting planners was like, no, we are not going to have a bus in front of the hotel. Period. That's not our property, and that's not good. You can't.
That goes back to Stuart's point. When you make decisions, make them on the guest side of things.
Right.
Exactly.
How many of those people didn't come back? Because of that. That's just silly. And that's the thing we try to preach to folks is, when someone is on property, you're really working not just on that stay, but all future stays. You're trying to get them to come back when they're there. Really, once they've made that first booking, everything you're doing should be towards ensuring they have a great experience so that they come back, right? So you always want to be nudging them in that direction. So when you do stuff like that, you're pushing them further away from the chance of booking again. So you just really always got to work towards, hey, we're building a relationship. This is first date. I want a second date, and I need to put my best foot forward to have that second date.
So we did. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. One other thing that we did, we actually had that list of people who were attending, and to open the Beverly Hills property, we basically used the Fortune 100 list and invited all of those individuals and their spouse, flew them out, weekend, whatever, arrive Friday, depart Sunday sort of thing, some structured activities, and that's how we launched the hotel, because they were preview stays. And we said, look, you're a CEO, you're a chairman of the board, that sort of thing. We want to know what you think.
Yeah.
Right. Sort of thing. Not just, hey, come stay for free, we're giving you a freebie, but and we made them do a little bit of work. Right. They had to meet with a couple of people. It's kind of like the timeshare thing, sort of. But they did. But they appreciate it. And let me tell you, that one program set that hotel for corporate, for corporate business. I mean, it was absolutely insane.
The best GM I ever worked with, the first GM I ever worked for, is that when you get hired, no matter what your position was within the hotel, you're asked to spend a weekend with your family, bring whoever you want to, and you were treated as a VIP. Your meals were comped, everything was comped. It was a chance for you to go over and be at the hotel. And it wasn't that people knew you were going to be a future employee. It was for you to come into the hotel and be a guest.
Yeah.
And to experience the hotel, experience the dining, experience whatever it is that's about it, so that you had a sense of it. And then, of course, you'd start your work program after that. And it was a chance. And I always adopted that. Whenever I went and took over hotels, and anybody that got hired, the first thing that they did was stay at the hotel before it was announced that they were a new staff member. Yeah, and it gave them the chance to go over and experience the hotel and feel the culture, and also see the things that they see as a guest that they would not have seen as a staff member once they started, because they don't look at it the same way. Nobody looks at it the same way. So you're talking about CEOs and so forth, same mentality. We do that for business purposes, but, we got to remember the fact that, your employees, doing an employee rate, if you have multiple units and doing crossover employees, one of the best things you could ever do is offer your employees of your multi-units the capacity to stay at your other properties at any, if not free, close to it.
Okay. Four Seasons, Paul, and I think it's still the same, and this was very revolutionary back in the day. Everybody, I mean, housekeepers, once you were there 3 months, I think you got 3 nights at any Four Seasons, complimentary room, 50% off on food and beverage, right? Wow. That was it. And Izzy Sharp was adamant about that, because he said, look at who's the most valuable member of the, and he'd get at general managers conferences and say, who is the most valuable member of the team? He's go, it's not you guys.
That's right.
It's the housekeepers, right?
Yeah.
If they don't do their job, you're done.
Yeah.
Right? Sort of thing.
You can't make up for a dirty room.
Socioeconomically, most of the housekeepers are not the Four Seasons target guest. I mean, most the people on this show are not the Four Seasons target. Most of the people in the world are
Stuart's
not.
very, very rich. I mean,
Stuart, yeah.
I'm rich in friendship, but not in money.
Yeah, exactly. So excuse me. The caterers brought in the caviar caviar and lobster for the podcast.
For the podcast, right?
But anyway, he would say these. He goes, how else would they know what a guest is? They've got to see what happens and what the difference is. And the big thing was they weren't thrown into, we've got some staff rooms down here overlooking the air conditioning equipment. It was like you were treated as a guest. And that was the bottom line for that organization, was everybody, your staff, your vendors, investors, everybody, the golden rule, treat other people the way you'd like to be treated, the classic hospitality thing. And what do you know? The housekeepers stay a long time, right? They're expert. They love working. I mean, it's a great product. They work really hard and they get these benefits for themselves and their family. And guess what? Your training expenses go down, and you've got a loyal, high quality, high trained, staff.
I know I've said this on the show before. When I was used to be GM, when I always have staff meetings where I bring everybody in together, I said, "Who in this room doesn't need to be here today?" And they would make jokes about each other and stuff like that. It's like, it's me. If I wasn't here, the place still runs. I would hope to think it doesn't run as good, but it still runs. But if a housekeeper isn't here, we can't clean the room. If a front desk isn't here, we can't check in. If your chef isn't here, we can't cook food. I said, I'm the one expendable person out of this. I'm the least important person in this room. I need to be helping all of you all do your job, because without your job, I don't have one. And that perspective shift of where they tend to think that they're going upwards in this pinnacle. Actually, their baseline is the value proposition of that hotel. But okay. I know, Stuart, you linger because you want to make sure that we did not miss this Airbnb article, because you can't get yourself enough Airbnb. Okay,
Oh man!
You wake up in the morning going, "Give me some Airbnb. I need some Airbnb stuff."
Listen, I don't have a problem with Airbnb. I have a problem with the industry reaction to Airbnb that there's some existential crisis going on.
This isn't industry reaction. This is legal reaction.
No, so this is the kind of article that is great. This is the kind of article that the industry should be promoting, because this is really what
100.
Right?
This from the beginning should be equitable housing, fair. You know, let's make this fair. You need to pay taxes. Here's what taxes do in terms of supporting, you know, the tourism for the city, in terms of supporting infrastructure and affordable housing for the staff.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I think Airbnb, from a perspective of it should be on an equal playing field to the rest of the lodging industry in terms of, you know, taxation, security regulations, privacy regulations, all that stuff is what we need to be talking about constantly. What we don't need to be talking about is how hotels are in danger if they don't become Airbnb. You know, that's what drives me crazy.
Right. Airbnb came into existence in a vacuum of usabilities where we didn't have regulations and rules in all markets that can control, mitigate their taxation requirements, their amount of inventory and displacement of affordable housing. And now that maturation is beginning to come into market. What I like is two things happened this week. This article about saying that just because you're an online provider doesn't mean you're excluded from local local rules and regulations and laws and so forth. And the other was the Sandy Hill, ability to go over and sue the gun maker. That breaks another line of saying, guess what? You know, just because you have this rule that says, hey, we don't know what people do with our stuff, doesn't mean you're not responsible. Because I see, and I'm not trying to make any comparison between both of them, but I see the line being pushed in some things like this now that says the internet is real. It's a part of our everyday life and culture. So the old initial rules saying, hey, let's give it a chance. It's neutral ground. It's in the space. You know, a vendor in one country can't be held for the laws of another country. These things are being questioned now because they're having negative impacts. And one of them is Airbnb getting away without taxation, without, you know, being able to be responsible for the inventory displacement of affordable housing, and the laws that are catching up with it. I like it a lot.
Right.
For sure.
And and I actually stayed in I think I was speaking at the boutique lodging conference, and I actually stayed at an Airbnb within the city limits of Santa Monica, intentionally to kind of, you know, highlight what was going on, because it was a camper. And these people were moving the camper around from parking. They had certain parking spaces that they kind of knew where they could move around. They couldn't be there continuously, but they'd have to go move, you know, to get around. There's just all.
So you stayed in a Walmart parking lot? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, it wasn't. No, it was on a residential street of one of probably the 4 or 5. And it's like, look at, they've got a, you know, crack down on this sort of thing, because you don't want campers all over the streets. No, that's just not, you know,
it's just not fair, you know, and that's what we need. We need parity.
I did see that was one of the remarkable things when I was going through Los Angeles. Like, what are all these derelict RVs and trashy trailers doing on the side of the road everywhere? And and I found out that a lot of, and this is the sad story of it, that's the only thing that some of the students at some of the colleges can freaking afford. Right. And that they have to drag them out of position every once in a while, put them someplace else and stuff. But you know, that's the only place. The reason why they can even be close to the college campus and walk there and stuff is because they live in these trashy, dumpy little trailers.
Right.
Yeah. Look at like New Orleans, where there's literally entire streets that used to be residential that are all Airbnbs now, and they've had the city councils had to really put up some strong regulation to prevent that stuff.
And they have to, because you kill the city, right?
Yeah, it's killing the city. The city can't function if there's not affordable housing. Period. Right.
No.
And this is squashing affordable housing. So,
and that is the message. It's the affordable housing message, not the, oh, it's not fair to hotels and hotel owners. It's like, no, nobody cares about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the outcome, right? Which we all want as people in the hospitality industry. We want fairness across all lodging types. But really, the ultimate problem is it's going to cause a problem. And if you're a hotel there and we're talking about the housekeeping, they need affordable housing. They don't make a ton of money, right? And if we have that issue here in Myrtle Beach where they literally have to ship a lot. They bus in a lot of housekeepers because of limited access to affordable housing.
I got a question. Actually, it's not my questions. It's Florent Pico's off of Facebook. What do you feel? What's your opinion on Sonder.com? SONDER.com.
I don't even know what Sonder.com is.
I've heard of them before, but I don't know. Let me look at it.
Yeah, it's basically, I mean, there's several cities. Sorry for not seeing it sooner, Florent. It seems like a more specific city-by-city inventory availability Airbnb selection process.
Yeah, they're basically kind of distributed hotels, right? So you can go. I believe you can kind of book, and I believe they're kind of marketing them under these are curated properties that meet such and such sort of group. So Oasis used to do that sort of thing. Yeah, I think you may wind up seeing things like this. I think Marriott's experimenting with some of these things where they can have, Marriott branded up, apartments are under some sort of brand and things like that. Yeah, there's a possibility to have basically an abstract or distributed hotel, right? Where you go, well, here's your services, and they're spread around the room.
Locations under one modicum, and that's what you're telling it as, is saying, hey, look, I have locations in the New York, Phoenix, Rome, San Francisco, DC, New Orleans, San Diego, Boston, Chicago, blah, 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 blah. And they're all under one modicum, and you can stay in between these. So it's like multi-unit hotels, but for single or few unit usabilities in each city.
And they don't have nearly as much. I'm looking at Austin here, right? And so they have a few out. There's one in South Congress. There are a couple around downtown, things like that. And they're basically nice, upscale sort of dwelling. So that curation process is very, very important. But again, I look at with the data that Airbnb has, they can get there where they can start curating personal, things that are. Airbnb's business has always been about how do you match the guest to the host, right? Or the actual unit, and that is their core thing. So for the guys like Sonder, it's like that's great if you can do that, but boy, you're going to have to spend some money to market yourself and make people aware. And you're in all these different cities.
Sure. But I think there will be competitors to Airbnb. There have been, and there were, and when a lot of the markets I work in, there's a heavy vacation rental density as well, and there's a lot of micro versions of this at a geographic location level.
Absolutely.
So if you look at like Orlando or Myrtle Beach or somewhere like that, there's a lot of what you would consider a rental management company that do exactly this. They've curated a bunch of properties and they sell it under a brand. We work with a group here in Myrtle Beach called Condo World, who have really started to expand beyond. They're now in Panama City. They're now in a bunch of different places in Florida, and they're looking in some of the Gulf Shore in Alabama and other areas like that. So I think, this isn't a new concept. I think Airbnb have just been the poster child for it for a little while. They've done a lot of really smart things with their user interface, with their PR, things like that, but they're not going to be the definitive one. And honestly, I don't think that's what they want. They don't want to be the one and only in this space. They want to be an OTA. They're heading towards that.
I even see a membership model with something like this, where if you have some really amazing products in certain key locations and so forth, you create a membership club, almost like not timeshare, but a membership club that says that way there's distribution of demand for all those that are participating in the portfolio that says, okay, look, we're in these 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 places, and we share the membership relationships, and they close doors to saying that you be a part of it. And I see that as a value proposition. I mean, all honesty is that if I have certain destination locales that I go to or frequencies I like to go to certain places, and you're telling me I can have a relationship that one gives me, defined quality level that I'm looking for, price level that I'm willing to accept at, and inventory that's available for me when I'm interested in it, and you're telling me I get to pay a base fee to be able to have that access, sounds reasonable.
I think it is. But, the cautionary tale here is the hospitality industry, and when I say that, I'm focusing more on the hotels, doesn't need to overreact to this type of thing, right? It's something new, and you need to watch it, and it's different, but it doesn't mean you need to pivot to adjust to beat it, right?
Because we chase after it all the time. We call it the shiny object. We've said it 1,000 times.
I think you legitimately need to be aware of what they're doing and why
it's effective,
why they're effective, and why the guests like this, right? Because again, they have, their net promoter scores are through the roof, right? They're it's 95, up, plus sort of thing. So you have that. You need to go, what are they doing? How can we appeal to those guests and not just?
Or should we appeal to those guests? Who are those guests? Are they our guests? Because I'd argue a lot of hotels, the value proposition for a Marriott is very different than the value proposition for an average Airbnb unit. If I want consistency, I want something to meet my expectations, I don't want surprises, I'm probably going to go to a Marriott, right? But if I'm looking for something a little different and I'm a bit more of a risk taker, tend to be younger people that are more risk takers, and I don't have kids with me, that time, I would probably be more likely to roll the dice on something.
Look at all the Marriott messaging and targeting of millennials, though, and stuff like that, right? And you got
there's a couple of things, and this goes back to last week's conversation on Uber's new reward program, their premier program, or whatever they call it. Yeah. It still catches in my throat a little bit about it, because to me, the premise of Uber is commonality of everybody. It's like we're providing a general community-based service level. Everybody's the same. You need a ride.
A utility.
Yes. Now you're telling me, no, the car that could probably pick me up sooner isn't, because somebody more ranked than me is. Right. Okay. And I see Airbnb. Yeah, I'm not the model itself, I understand, but to me, it's like, well, that diminishes my real loyalty to them. If I don't use it enough to be that person, then I'm less likely to use it if there's another platform that's going to be that commonality that says, no, we treat everybody the same. And the prices are about the same.
It depends, right? It depends. If I'm someone that uses...
Airbnb is going to go this way, too.
Right. But if I'm someone that's a high-end user and does well with the reward points, and I get preferential treatment, I'm probably okay with that.
See, you're used to that, and I bet your kids are going to go into college sooner than anybody else.
No. Actually, Stuart's kids are on the boxing team. Yeah, they're in. They've already got the
team and the chess club. I thought they were on the chess team.
I bought my kid a tennis racket last week. He's now on the tennis team. We're good.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah. He's got raw talent. Yeah.
So Airbnb's motto, though, is belong anywhere. Right. That's been kind of now. Here, I'll make a prediction. No, this isn't a prediction. This is what they should do. I'm telling Airbnb what they should do. They should buy Hostel World, right? Hostel World is a OTA, but it focuses on. They aren't covering that market. They've got Hotel Tonight. They've got the Airbnb. They aren't really serving. And Hostel World does a great job. Let me tell you, that website, and my daughter's using it extensively in Europe over there. It's great stuff, and it's interesting. Big changes in the hostel market. I mean, they're Generator and all these big groups, but these guys are doing really, really smart stuff. She's going to Paris, and there's one it's a top-ranked hostel. It's fairly large for the last 6 years in Paris. They have, I don't know what percentage of their inventory is private rooms with ensuite baths, but it's a hotel, right? They've got maybe 30-40% of their inventory is hotel as opposed to dorms. But you go and stay there, they have a restaurant, right? You get 25% off at the restaurant. They do, theme nights of, movies or drink specials or whatever. She was just in Krakow. They had like vodka samplings and things like that, right? So a lot of things that you'll find at co-working spaces, right, which are kind of cool. Oh, here's the such and such coming in to go do the wine tasting or whatever.
Well, I see WeWork doing that soon too. I see WeWork doing some hostel-based kind of things that it's a natural progression that as people travel, that it might be an easy backpacking kind of cost-effective way. Say if I'm part of WeWork, I have a workspace down below, and they got some maybe some pods. Maybe the pod hotel might go with WeWork.
Yeah, put that's what you're saying. This one in Paris it's like a pod hotel. It's bunk beds. It's but they're kind of separate little pods.
Robert, are you comfortable talking about your daughter going to hostels when we have a conversation about Liam Neeson today?
Yeah, we should get to the rut row. I've got to leave shortly. Maybe we should move right to the no. But my daughter has been staying in all these hostels, but she has yet to stay.
Robert, are you a man of particular skills? Are you a man of particular skills?
No. I'm saying what's interesting is she has only stayed in hotel rooms. In a couple of cases, there have been shared baths. I think she was in a dorm once, but she was going with 4 friends, and they all got the 4-person dorm room with the ensuite bath, right? So that's like a hotel. Ed talks about the family rooms and things like that, right? I mean, I think there's this whole blurring across this, what is accommodation? What do the travelers need? And the reason I made that recommendation for Airbnb is my daughter goes to Hostel World first now when she's looking for a place to stay. My older daughter, who's 7 years older, she goes to Airbnb first when she's looking for a place, right?
But in 5 years, neither of them will go to those sites.
Very possible. Yeah, my younger daughter will probably migrate to Airbnb, and then my older daughter will probably migrate to hotels.com or something like that.
And they'll start at 4 Seasons, so they get to talk about 4 Seasons, and he gets to stay as a family member. That's what he's hoping for.
I used to. I gave that up a long time ago.
He could just become a housekeeper, and then he gets the free nights.
My wife has still not forgiven me for leaving.
Hey, just real quick about the AI conversation. We can jump to the row afterwards. I was going to drop in the AI real quick about what the airline's been doing since we sent, like you said, follow them like
pricing for work. Yep.
Yeah. What? I'm putting it over here. Sorry. Come on. All right.
I think I missed this one. I don't remember seeing this.
Down in tech. Here.
Dynamic pricing for work. What sort of leap is needed? This is basically airline dynamic pricing of saying what really has to.
Right. The question I have with this one primarily is: do you think that the propagation of GDPR-like regulation is going to create issues of the ability for us to personalize dynamic rates? Because with the data as is, and already in the EU, you can't offer different rates to different geographies.
Right.
So if we go GDPR-esque, which is probably not a term like, ROM, can we offer Philadelphia a different rate than we can Boston? Can we offer California a different rate than Florida? Can we even identify these people in a way that we would be able to personalize that without it being prejudiced as to be that we're treating them differently because of?
Got to be careful.
Yeah, it's tricky because geography on its own is not PII, right? So even that's not personal. So, and the EU does prevent you from targeting pricing on that. There's a couple of precedents on this where you really you should not be showing different people different pricing unless it's clear how they get the different pricing. For example, if you log in and you're a member of a loyalty program, you get a preferred rate. That's okay.
And you have opted in, yes, to have a relationship.
But to do it based on something you're inferring or collecting, I would stay very far away from that.
Yeah,
I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze, and I think the risk is really, really high.
Yeah, and the number of groups who are saying, we have such and such, and then we have an algorithm that it's like, watch out.
Yeah.
Because, boy, if you don't know the unintended consequences of that, can get you into...
Especially when you start putting the financial anything, whether it's the amount of spend, whether it's the history of spend. You start doing that, then you are creating the potential of saying, what, because I didn't spend that extra buck, I'm getting a different... whether it be good or bad, a different rate. You're isolating me because of financial consideration.
Right. I have less ability to pay, but you are giving me a higher rate versus someone who has a greater ability to pay.
Or I have kids at a certain age versus a different age, and I'm being charged differently because of what?
Yeah, and I happen to be a different ethnicity or religious or political persuasion,
or maybe you like Star Trek versus Star Wars.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Yeah, just stay away from it. Just stay away. I'm not even biting on that one.
All right, so
I gotta leave in about 10 minutes, gents. Just so
I gotta leave in about 3.
Pool chair. How much do I gotta pay?
Oh, you want to do the pool? Oh, that was just a revenue management thing. That was
the row, right? Unless you want to do Holly's.
No. I want to do Holly's row.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Just in a nutshell, what I was joking about was the stupidity of charging for pool chairs with no special value proposition. Just the fact that they want to charge you for a pool chair, so everybody else crowds around all the chairs that aren't being charged for.
I don't know, man. I don't feel as I don't know. I don't know if it's idiotic or not. I think it could be, if done correctly, it could be a smart play because you pay for some kind of exclusive
proposition of it. I would say
special area. Maybe you have table service, that sort of thing. And it may be an area with a better view or something like that. You just go look at, because again, you'll have luxury hotels have cabanas and things like that.
It's not
you can pay for it. You can rent
something cordoned off so you don't have to meet with your staff.
Charging the resort, if you're charging a resort fee, which includes the pool, and then you start charging for anybody's pool chairs, then that's a problem, right?
Yeah, but that's not what they're doing. If you really read it, what they're doing is they're separating a section, and you're guaranteed a chair. You don't have to get down and put your towel on it, and you don't have to worry that someone moves your towel if you go to the beach or wherever it is.
Some are charging, though, for just regular chaises. If you want a chaise, you have to pay for
but it's in a specific location. The people do this on beach chairs, and they've done it for a long time. Like, as long as it's not done, with the intention of gouging folks, I think it's okay. And I went and looked at the reviews because the article was reading like people were up in arms about this and everyone was complaining. And then, so I went on to TripAdvisor and read some of the reviews. on some of these properties. There's no mention of it. There may be one isolated mention of it. It's not alienating guests. It provides a service.
If you do it right.
The right way, you know.
Yeah,
so
I'll say the caveat being perceived value. If the perceived value is there, that you're not doing it saying go to the pool, but then there's no place to sit because, and it's a part of your resort fee, as Robert says, and there's no place to sit.
Well, that's a different issue, though, right? You're not providing an amenity that you guaranteed for someone. So giving them, if
it dropped out. Lauren just muted you.
I did not mute him.
He just muted you. Nope. We don't care what you're saying, Stuart.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, there we go.
Yeah, okay. I pressed the button by accident on my.
The mute button, the magic button. All right, so let's do Hollies. Let's do Hollies. Row.
This is awesome.
On the pool chair, the other side of the pool chair thing is you have to manage the pool area where people just don't go out at 7 o'clock in the morning, throw some towels on things, and lock them up until 3 in the afternoon.
Now, there was, to Stuart's credit, there was a small little miffy issue in Spain that was developing between Germans and English people on pool chairs.
It wasn't small, man. This is a big deal. I mean, this was like a national thing.
It was turned into a national story. You're right. You're right.
For sure. Yeah, those darn Germans will get down early every day.
Throwing towels down on stuff so that they
can
Yep.
Damn them.
A problem. Cruise ships, huge problem on cruise ships.
All right. So Holly's Rot Row. What brilliance is this?
You know what's really funny? When I first scanned this article, I read it as Alabama. Like the headline. I read the headline as Alabama. I'm like, what? And then I realized that it was Albania.
So the tourism board of Albania came up with a very clever a very clever pitch. And Stuart, you're in advertising. What's Albania known for? Well, Albania, especially to an English-speaking audience, because this was targeted to basically I think Americans, Western European, maybe UK. I'm not sure, but English-speaking audience, basically saying, hey, they know us from the movie Taken with Liam Neeson, where his daughter is kidnapped from Paris by Albanian, human traffickers, right? And so the whole take on it was, you will be taken by Albania in the positive sense that, I was very taken because it was so charming and lovely. That charming and lovely was not the version of the term taken for the movie, which was quite horrific, and they keep referencing the movie back through it, even with a guy in it who plays an Albanian, when they talk about, and I don't know if they got licensing from the production company for the film. I don't know if they got Liam Neeson's permission to go. I can't imagine it. No, I don't know. I would think even if they had Liam Neeson in it, boy, the creative challenge of wedging that was the Albania before and now it's great, or that was just a movie and it was fictional.
There's no way I can twist this.
This is the real Albania. I don't know.
I think good PR.
Don't bring it up. Maybe you just should bring it up.
This is as bad as when they decided to use Borat for Uzbekistan tourism.
Exactly. Well, no, that's what I thought of, because did you remember that in Taken they were Albanians? I didn't. Until they reminded me. And then, of course, the article goes on to say, Albania still has a really rough, time with human trafficking. That is still a major issue for this country. Not a good combination.
Yeah, this is hard to defend. I mean, I think the idea probably came from a place that a lot of ideas come from. And I'll be honest, our agency has had way worse ideas than this. But at some point between the idea getting thrown out and it getting executed and published, someone raises their hand and says, let's have a little think about really what we're doing.
An adult in the room goes,
some dissenting. Yeah, just hold your horses. Let's think this through. And that clearly didn't happen in this case. I mean, it's hard to defend. I mean, if it was a less serious issue, if we weren't talking about human trafficking and that kind of stuff, maybe you could get away with it. I can see where leaning into a negative stereotype is funny and ironic and drives awareness.
They're shooting
right.
for that, right? They wanted to go
which
viral.
Works if you're not dealing with human trafficking, right?
There should be some things that don't get translated over.
I don't understand how this got through. I really don't. Although, it's got over 250,000 views on YouTube. Some would argue that it's good PR, but it doesn't. It makes me probably more aware of Albania and the issues they have. It doesn't make me want to go stay there.
Yeah.
Right. What aspect of this is saying, oh, let me take my wife, or if I have kids and family, let's go to Albania because hey, they're acknowledging that they have an issue.
Everything in it, except for the Taken references, does that, right? It's
right.
It says, hey, this is the great place, and they were missing a hook, right? And they tried to figure out this would be the hook, and it's the wrong hook.
Yeah.
When I was with Budget Rent-A-Car, they did the same thing. They went out and got a great ad agency, right? Who was really or I shouldn't say a great ad agency. They got a very hot ad agency who had done the Wolves getting let loose on the UCLA marching band or something like that for a Super Bowl ad. They got all this spin. It was like, this young, really edgy agency. And so they started doing things, and it was a big money campaign of the whole pitch was, it's the marketing people and Budget trying to figure out how they can tell things about these are cool things that we do, right? Key product features. And then they kind of go wrong, right? So how do you get to the car, right? Because you could pick your own car or something like that. They had a guy in a jetpack, and he's like, what? Because they're spitballing ideas in this meeting. You go, well, what if we did this? And you see the guy going, which car? And he takes off, which is kind of funny. But then he hits power lines, and you're like, no, don't have him hit power lines. Just have him take it. It's funny. Don't do that part. The next one was, they had luxury cars, right? We have these upsized luxury Lincolns or something like that. And they had these 4 businessmen driving. They had aromatherapy candles and stuff, and they're kind of...
They went to sleep and they crashed.
And I saw that. And you're like, no, that one got pulled, actually.
Yeah, kidding.
They had different... We have the most...
Robert still hasn't got over the fact they crushed his dreams.
No. So the most variety of fleet was a guy on a big wheel, right? And so he's driving out in the big wheel, kind of confused. He pulls out, and the rental bus hits him. And you're just sitting there going, stop killing people. Why does somebody have to die in a rental car?
This happened on your watch, Robert?
It's not an association.
Oh no, I was there. I was there at that time, and it was like, what the hell? How did they say? And that's the problem. The CEO didn't say no. It was the marketing guy thought this was really funny and edgy, and there wasn't an adult in the room to go, no, stop that. Or let's test this. They wound up pulling all the ads. They spent millions on it. And a couple were shown, right?
That's the thing with an ad agency. The ad agency still made their money, right? So they don't really care.
Yeah, and probably put them up for awards, and maybe they won a couple.
They'll probably do that out for a bunch of awards. Okay, so last closing part of a couple of things is some small advice I need quickly before.
Well, can I really say, just to finish off that about bitching about marketing companies, the Sheridan logo, really?
Yeah, so that was fine. Yeah.
Yeah, Robert did want to throw it. Go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
Boy.
Go that one in.
So I don't know how much they spent on this thing, but you could have gone something better on 99 designs for $1,000.
Oh, yeah. Fiverr could have.
Yeah. When you look at their justification and how they're explaining how, this is what drives me crazy about marketing. It really
somebody wrote up that explanation of
that's beyond
what they wanted it to do.
That's psychobabble.
Oh yeah, all the imagery and all this stuff, and to have it where it's the S, they put it. I don't even know what you call those little circular symbols, because it used to have.
It represents the world and how all these people are interconnecting in the world.
Yeah. And it's just like some sort of geometric pattern circle, and then they put established 1937, and you go, does that really appeal to like the millennial sense of, are you trying to make this historic classic brand?
Yeah,
or you just said it was supposed to be hip and looking toward the future?
I've seen two versions. There's the one with the established, and there's the one with their the tagline. I forget what their tagline is, but it's.
Oh, I don't even know. I didn't even see the tagline.
They spent too much money on that. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, any money spent was too much money.
That was really. I don't know. It's interesting, those decisions. I mean, Bonvoy has been getting a lot of pushback. Again, I don't personally like Bonvoy. I don't think it's great. I don't know what their other options were to kind of come up.
Right.
I know what they were trying to do.
Not to betray any confidences, but I know somebody on the inside of things with Marriott and talking with them about their choices and options and so forth.
Yeah.
And it really is a little lending towards what we talked about, where they had basically a little over 3, but the 3 that this person was referring to, of where they have diminished trademark complaints against. They had diminished shorter paths of being able to go to market with. There's a lot of variables that, of course, that we talked about, but there was a lot more I didn't even think about.
Right.
So they settled.
So they settled for what was. And when I was talking with her, she's like, out of all the dumbest ones I saw, they picked the dumbest. It's like, it was like, yeah, we're kind of empathizing with you on that one, That
was the most trademarkable, and the rationale was bon means good in French, and voy means go.
Right, and that's the thing. If you have to explain the punchline of a joke, it ain't a good joke. You have to explain your mission statement. It isn't a good mission statement.
Oh, it was I don't know if it was last night or the night before. Seth Meyers had a great thing during his monologue, and he told this joke, right, about something about whales, and the guy goes, "You're orca," right, instead of eureka. Right. And, it wasn't, and it doesn't get much of a laugh. And then he goes, and now for our segment, the writers explain their joke, right? And the writer came out and went through a couple minutes of explaining the joke and the history of who said eureka first, and all this, and then he explains it, and it gets a bigger laugh.
Yeah, I bet. Hey, yeah. By the way, why didn't you said you didn't want Seth Meyers on your podcast? I mean, what's up with that, Stuart? I mean. It's funny. I mean, TripAdvisor get them on their podcast, their one only podcast, the only one I've seen so far after 2 weeks podcast. The TripAdvisor. They have a podcast.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, a podcast, literally a podcast.
Yeah. They did it wrong. They should have recorded 4 or 5 so they could push them out.
You would think that, and maybe somebody should remind them that if they don't post every 2 weeks, it doesn't stay in the renewal process for iTunes. Just saying, on their podcast things, it doesn't go automatically download for the next episode. But who are we to tell them details? It's TripAdvisor. Okay, so here's my advice question. Next week, I'm speaking in Colorado Springs to all of the HSMAI chapter leaders, and my hour that I'm spending with them is literally creating them from brand to icon, how they can take what they represent in their market for the industry and become the established voice, the unbiased established voice of hospitality, information, knowledge, awareness, and what have you, to their end market. I'm starting it from obviously, the icon perspective, Harley Davidson's, Apples, and so forth. People freaking tattoo their bodies with these things. It's not about the product in as much as it is the lifestyle they're reflected to. But the reason why they attained that status was because they became the established voice of that. And that's what I'm trying to teach them is, how do you become that? How do you become that established voice in your market? And one of the key elements, obviously, is frequency, trust, consistency, honesty, and then persistence of unbiased value, that the people can trust you because what you're bringing to market is benefiting everyone, not constituencies of who are connected to you, not individual players in your market, but rather you're bringing to the market a voice of clarity associated with hospitality. And then I'm going to teach them methodologies of marketing, how to use social platforms in a progressive way to promote your events, how to promote your content, how to push your information out to the people that may not be aware of you so that they would want to join or at least listen to you in your market. Any advice?
Support your local community.
Yeah, get involved.
Get involved where the really important issues for try to help the community solve problems, and not just by donating, but have your employees organize things to help. If it's homelessness and food banks or whatever the case may be, right? I think you can do a lot with that. Number 2 is support your customer and really figure out what why do they stay at your property, and why are they traveling to your destination? What are the things you can do?
But do they share that within the HSMEI chapter at that point? They're saying, hey, our hotel has this inside information, or our hotel has this insight as to guest satisfaction, and share that within the HSMEI community?
Oh, I think so. And in certain cases, you can.
No, I'm literally asking. Yeah. This is
I think you say, what we do is, not necessarily you figure out, hey, we've done a really good job of attracting regional country club guests to come in for whatever, shopping over holidays or who knows what, right? Whatever the case may be. Sporting events or whatever, shows. Yeah, you might not want to go that far, but I think it's figuring out, hey, here demand generators. Yes, how do you provide better transportation to them, or to simplify different things? Because some hotels will cooperatively work together and go, you know what, from this little pod of hotels you can go get a bus and it goes to the football game, right? From the north end of the airport or whatever, you can go stop at these and go, and they cooperatively fund it because they couldn't do it themselves. And you could do stuff like that. But that, and then you take care of your, what programs you can do to take care of your employees too, I think. And you're a good, corporate, responsibility. CSR, that's another one for you. CSR, corporate social responsibility, Lauren.
Write that one down.
It's a big thing. Only been since maybe 15 years on that one.
He probably just heard about it. So, Lauren, what's your goal is to help them grow their chapters? Is that what you're trying to do?
And I've got to go. I've actually got to go.
All right, Robert, real quick, just if you want to know about you, where to go?
rockcheetah.com or at Robert K. Cole.
Robert, thank you very much for
I will not see you next week or the week after. I'm going to be just wandering around northern Italy. Sorry.
You're going to Albania?
No problems.
Maybe crap. I don't know. I think we have some non-refundable stuff.
You're a man of certain specific skills.
Change it to Albania. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. So what you're telling me, Robert, in a nutshell, is I'm on my own for the topics, which is okay. I appreciate it. That's all right.
That's right. Yeah, I probably will not be doing news topics the next couple of.
No, don't worry. I will be happy to take the mantle back for a while. Only for a while, though. Not long.
Okay.
See you, Robert.
Bye.
Bye, Robert.
Oh! I almost hit the red button to kill us. Sorry.
Oh!
I won't do that. Bye.
No red button.
I got about a minute too.
I know you gotta run too, but what is it?
So, is your goal trying to expand the reach of the chapters? Is that for them to grow the chapter? Right. Like South Carolina chapter is in disarray. Really, it doesn't have consistency.
To be candid, I mean, obviously we have people from HSMI that listen to the show and so forth. The chapters. Sure. And I've been an advocate, and you know this for a long time, that an advocate of creating value for the chapters, that it isn't just about finding a job or offering a job, which sometimes the perception of the chapters is only that, is to give them usable resources, networking within their market so that they can better improve what they do for their own company, without giving away, obviously you never talk rates and things like this, obviously those things, but just shareable content that's helpful. I mean, I love Robert's suggestion of saying, if a company or a hotel is doing something community based, share it within the HSMEI community. Now, with that said, some of the other things I want to point out to them too is I'm having all of them bring all of their social handles and pages and everything else and share them with all the other chapters. I said, guys, you got to like everybody, follow everybody, and
create a network.
All the time. Create your own infrastructure network.
Right. Especially because this industry, people move from location to location too.
Right.
And you want it to continue. Whoa, hold on. I got a Skype call coming in.
Oh.
Let me kill that. Hold on.
No worries. I know I'm running you almost to the edge here.
Yeah. So, hold on. Let me kill this. Yeah, I got to jump on a call in a second. Yep. But I think from my perception, having worked with a regional or local chapter, I think there's two things that you have to do really well. One is provide value in terms of the content. Like, you got to give people a reason to want to come back. You can get people to come once, but to get them to come back consistently, it's kind of like the repeat guest thing in hotels, right? You want people to keep coming back because they see value. So concentrating on quality of the meetings versus quantity. Like, don't just meet monthly to meet, just try to focus on making sure everyone leaves feeling like that was a worthwhile hour or 2 hours or whatever it was, right? But the other thing, and I don't think this happens enough, at least in my experience, is you got to use this tool right here. Whoever's in charge, the board for that area, pick up the phone and talk to people. and build those relationships and encourage them and ask them to come and explain what you're trying to accomplish and why you're trying to accomplish it, because that personal relationship is what's going to bring someone from, maybe I'll go to I'll definitely go, So I definitely think using the phone more and building those relationships.
And one thing I do want to point out with them too is that you have an amazing open door excuse to contact people. If you take on, there's a lot of responsibility when you become a board member for a chapter. I mean, you're volunteering your time. And that should be taken lightly, obviously, but you should also receive some benefit from that. And that it gives you the ability to call up cold anybody in any business in hospitality and say, hi, my name is such and such with HSME as board is such and such. We'd love to be engaged with you, and we'd like to go and we'd like to have you join with us. What is the value proposition that you're looking for? This is what we're offering, so forth. Some of the other things that I want to talk to them, and this is the mechanical parts of this.
Hey, Lauren, I gotta run. Sorry, buddy. I hate to be rude, but I'm getting
you're good.
Blown up here. I'm meant to be doing a demo right now. So.
Oh yeah, do a demo. All right, listen. Have fun. Thank you so much. If you want to know about field travel, where do they go?
Yeah, fieldtravel.com. If you want to listen to the podcast, we just published one on top 10 ways to drive new guests and reduce your reliance on OTAs. So check that out at fieldtravel.com/podcasts.
Thank you, Mr.
No, podcast. There's not an S on that. It's fieldtravel.com/podcast. Yeah.
All right. Have a good call. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks. Yeah, call me later if you want to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, no, I would love to. Yeah, I'd love to get more insights from you. That'd be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, buddy. Thanks.
All right. Bye, Mr. Stewart. All right, everyone. Well, that is going to wrap up our show for today. Thank you so much for attending. For those who asked us questions on Facebook and so forth, thank you so very much for that as well. And for those who are attending on Periscope, which is aka Twitter, thank you for that as well. You can reach out to us for this show, playback of this show, at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. There you'll see the links to this show, 188, and all previous 187 shows in the archive list. Also, you'll see all of the links to the conversations if you aren't in the chat today. You'll see them in there as well. The playback to this show as well. And, of course, the links to the content that was also in the curated list that Mr. Robert puts together generously for us each week of the links we didn't get to today as well. So hopefully with that in mind, you can also see us on YouTube. Sorry, that's the other platform you can see us too. Until next week, one show 189, which I'll be broadcasting from Denver. That morning. It looks like we won't be having Mr. Robert with us or Mr. Tim Peter. So hopefully Stuart and Holly might be able to join us at that time. Until then, thank you all very much for attending this week's show. And hopefully for those who would play back on the recording, we found great content for you to listen to again this week. And so until 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central, 9:30 Mountain Time, which will be the time that I'm on next week. Thank you so much for joining us at This Week in Hospitality Marketing. Take care. Bye, everyone.